So today what we're going to do is we're going to create this nav section right here in Figma onto a Webflow project. So the first thing I want to do is go over to Webflow, and I created a new project. What I want to do is add the fonts I'm going to be using. So the normal fonts that I have available are all right here under typography, but the one I want is enter, which is not on here yet. So what I need to do is go to project settings, then I'll go to fonts, and to do the search here, I'm using this Chrome extension called Add Search to Google Fonts in Webflow. So then I'll just type in enter, and then I want the regular, medium, semi-bold, and bold, which is 400, 500, 600, 700. And if you don't know what they are based on the numbers, because we're using Google Fonts, we can go to fonts.google.com, type in what I'm looking for. You can see enter. I have regular 400, medium 500, semi-bold 600, bold 700. So then I'll go ahead and hit add enter. Now I'll go back to the designer. Then what I want to do first here is go in body, and I want to get my default fonts. So I'll go here, I'll choose enter. 14 I'll keep for the size for now. For height, I like to use the 1.3 in unitless line height. And the reason I like that is, I'll show right here. So by using the unitless, it makes the line height a multiple of the font size. So the line height scales automatically. So that's why I like using that, and I just like using 1.3 as kind of a starting point. So now that that is in, what we'll do is start creating this. I'm going to get rid of these other ones here. So it looks like the first thing we need to do is that top bar. But before I do that, I'm going to use some shortcuts. I'm going to hit Command E on Mac, type in div, and that's going to be my section. There's not really a difference with Webflow between sections and divs. With divs, I just feel like you get more flexibility, which is why I use those. So now that I have that in, I'm going to hit Command Enter so I can get to the selector. I'm going to name this section Navbar. Now I'm going to hit Command E again, hit div, and this is going to go inside the Navbar section. Command E again, I'm going to do page padding. And I like to do page padding per section, so that way if some sections are using different padding than others, I can add a secondary class and affect each section individually. Gonna hit enter there, and then Command E, div again, Command Enter to get into the selector, and this one I'm going to call Navbar Wrapper. So I just wanted to butt in here and kind of make a little update here. So the original Navbar wrapper, I actually ended up renaming it to Navbar-section wrapper. And I did that so that I don't have two classes interfering with each other. So I just wanted to let you know that right away. And I will be including a read-only link with this project so that you can follow along and see exactly how I created everything also. Hit enter, and for the Navbar wrapper and the page padding, I want those to be 100% width and height. 100%. 100%. Now I'll go to the page padding. Do the same thing, 100% width, 100% height. And then for the Navbar section, I'm going to leave that as is. But now what I want to do is go into this Navbar wrapper here, and I'm going to add the top bar now. So I'll hit Command E, type in div, Command Enter, top bar. I like to put the little hyphen in there instead of a space, because if you ever do use custom code, any space in the class is going to be defaulted to a hyphen, so it's easier, in my opinion, to just stay with that to begin with. So now we got the top bar, and let's check on that now. So we have a height of about 55. So that one I'm just going to go ahead and add the height to 55 pixels. And then the width is going to be 100%, so we can stay with that. I do want to add some padding here. so I can kind of get a consistent thing with the sides. Right now I'm just going to start with 5%. And we can always adjust that as needed. Okay, and then also in this top bar, what I want to do is change the layout here. So I want to do a flexbox layout, which is right here. And then I want to center everything horizontally, but then I want to justify it to the right. And the reason for that is all this here is centered horizontally and then justified to the right. And let's go ahead and get this background right away. So it's a linear background. So I'll get this color here. Let's go down to backgrounds. We'll choose this linear gradient here. Grab this first one, right there. Put that in. Then what I'll do is grab the second one here. So that's in, but now you see that the direction is not right. So here we have the light blue on the left and the dark on the right. So what I want to do here is just kind of adjust that. So I'll go this way. See, it looks like 90 degrees right there looks pretty good, so I'll go ahead and keep that. So again, that's what we have there. So now what we need to do is create these contact sections here. So what I want to do first here is Command E. I'm going to do a div, and this one I'm going to call contact wrapper. And then inside the div, I'm going to Command E, and I'm going to do an image. I'll get that in a minute, but before I do that, I'll hit up one, so I'm still in the contact wrapper. Hit Command E, and this time I just want a text block. So that's in there now, but you see right now they're not the layout I want. So I'll go to the contact wrapper. I'll go to the layout. I'll do flex, horizontal, and I want to center it. And now I'm going to go ahead and get these images. Actually, first, before I do that, this contact wrapper is where I want to do. So this is going to affect the elements inside the contact wrapper. What I want is the font color to be white. So I'm going to do this here, just FFF, and then enter. It's all the same. And I will hit the plus to create the white color swatch. And then if I look at this here, it looks like enter regular 14. So what we have here then is enter regular 14. So that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the text over. Paste that in. And now I'm going to go ahead and get the image. Right, grab the phone. I'm going to export this as an SVG so that way it's scalable without being pixelated. So that should be in there. Click on the image. I'll hit the little cog wheel, choose image, and I'll add the image here. So, and then what I want to do here is we have a little bit spacing. So what I'm going to do is actually do margin left of the text block. So I'll go up here. I'm just going to go with 15. And then in the contact wrapper, I'm also going to add margin of 15. And then I can go ahead and copy and paste that 2 different times because we have the email and hours. I'm going to go ahead and copy the email address here. And then I'm going to grab the hours. That's all in. Now I just need to change the icons there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the letter icon. I'm going to export this as an SVG again. So I'll click on it, click the cog wheel, click replace image, upload the image, and then we'll do the clock. And so here, this is actually 2 different elements. What I want to do is click on it, and then hit Shift and click the other one. It might actually be a little closer here. And then I'm hitting plus to zoom in and zoom out. And then what I want to do is hit Command G, and that grouped that. So now I can export that group. Again, I want to do SVG, so it's scalable. I'll export the group. I'll click on the image, hit the cogwheel, replace image, and I will add that here. So now let's go ahead and see how that looks. So it's pretty good. It looks like it's a little close together to me. See how it is. So I could add a little more spacing, I think. So I'll get to the contact wrapper. And because I copied and pasted these, they all have the same classes. So they're all going to be affected the same. So I'm just going to add, I'm going to go to like 30 here, I think. So if you go to this contact wrapper, it's 30. Go to this contact wrapper, it's 30. What I do want to do here is actually rename this text block to just contact text. So drop that arrow and change it to contact text. And so I use, I base my class naming off of FinSuite's client first naming system, so I don't follow it exactly, but I definitely use that as a basis. And then, because this one is a phone number and this one is an email, I actually want to change those a little bit. So I'll go to the contact wrapper here, right click it, and I'm going to convert it to a link block. And so now what I can do is hit that cogwheel, change this to a phone number, and then I'll actually put the real phone number in and change that when needed. And now this one, same thing, contact wrapper, right click it, convert to link block, hit that cogwheel, change it to an email. So this way it can email, the user can click on it and send the email directly. But this one, it's the hours. We don't need to do that because that's not really a clickable link. So if we click through that, you can kind of see this here, but now you also see that those have those underlines, and I do not like that, and they're not in the design. So what we need to do here is actually go to the contact wrapper, go to the typography, and hit the X under decoration, and now that's gone. They're still links, but they don't have that underline that we don't like that's not in the design. So that is the top bar. Now what we have to do is get this navigation section here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the logo here, and I'm going to export this as an SVG. I really like SVGs. They're lightweight and scalable, as I've mentioned. So I did that there. And so now in here, I want to go to the Navbar wrappers where I want to be in. So I'll click in there, I'll hit Command E, and I'll type in Navbar. So now I've created that. I do not like using Webflow's default container. So in the Navbar, I'm going to hit Command E, type in div, and then Command Enter, and it'll do Navbar wrapper. That's already in there. So this is an existing class, so it's going to work the same. And then what I want to do is bring this up a little bit, expand the container here, and bring all this into the Navbar wrapper. So there's the brand, there's the nav menu, there's the menu button, and now what I'll do is actually delete the container. So now in the Navbar, what I want to do is add that 5% padding again. And there's a reason I'm doing this without the page padding, and I'll show you that in a second. So Navbar wrapper here. I just want to see if this is the right spot here. Now this background I don't want to be this grayish color, because you can see here it's white, so we just want white. So we'll click on there, we'll click the swatch, so that will make that white. And now for the brand, I'm just going to give this a class of brand. And then the reason I did that is because now what we're going to do is give it this flex layout, so it's everything just centered. So we'll align it centered and we'll justify it centered. Then I hit Command E, we'll add an image, and we will choose an image, upload it, and that's going to be our logo here. So that's that, and then let's go ahead and check on the height here. So it looks like the whole thing is 106. I'm going to do just 105 for the entire nav bar because we're using 55 on the top bar. So 105, I just like to have some consistency with how everything is working. So then, because we're in the default layout here, everything's going to be kind of up to the top, and what we want to do is actually have it centered. So I'm going to grab Flexbox. We're going to take the align and go horizontal. Actually, that I probably don't need to do. Let me go ahead and undo that. Command Z, Command Z. Okay, so I want to take the nav bar, make the height 105 like I had mentioned before. But then what I actually want to do is kind of come back here, go to this top nav bar wrapper, and call it Navbar section wrapper. So I'm just going to duplicate this class so that way we're not affecting the other one that's called Navbar wrapper. So Navbar section wrapper. So now what I want to do is take the Navbar wrapper, give it the display of horizontal, align it center, and so now you see it's all aligned centered, but we have everything to the right now. So what I want to do is actually take the nav link, go up one to the nav menu, and then hit margin auto left. That'll move everything to the right and space it out nicely. So now let's go ahead and get these links here. So what I'm going to do is actually delete the second two. Grab this first one, give it a class name of nav link. And so what I have here, looks like on the regular ones, is enter regular weight with a 19 pixel height. So if we go to typography, we have enter, we have regular, but we have 19 pixel height. And then we have the color of this 2A3D8F. So we'll copy that, go to color here, paste it in, and add the swatch to it. We'll create that, and now what I can do is just copy and paste this over. Command C, Command B, Command B, Command B. So I believe we have 4 of them, and we do. And from here then, it looks like the spacing needs to be quite a bit more. So we look at it, it's all kind of condensed to the right there, where here we have it kind of spread out pretty evenly, almost to where the phone is. So let's see, we have home, services, about us, and option 3. So go ahead and change those here. And option 3 is just we don't have the title for that page yet, so I'm just going to put what we have there. And so right here you see the about us is upper and lowercase. I don't necessarily like that without having to type that in every time. We can click nav link. When we go to typography, we can get more options here, and you can choose it to be all caps, capitalize every word, and that's kind of the one I want to use here, or you can even do all lowercase, or you can just have no styling. What I want to do is this capitalize every word, because that's just how I like it to look. And then again, we want to kind of spread everything out a little more. Let's just see. Even looking at the top, I feel like that can actually be spread out quite a bit more. So go to the contact wrapper. I'm going to spread that out to 70 pixels for the margin. I'll grab this nav link and I'm going to do margin left. Same thing. To 80 pixels I have right now. See how that looks. So pretty close. So I think we can go ahead and keep that there. And what I want to do next is, you see when it's the current page, it's bold. So what I'm going to do is go back into Webflow here, click the cogwheel, change the link setting to page home, because that's the only page I have created right now. And you see I gave me the current option in the selector. So now what I want to do is just verify bold there. So all I'm going to do here is go to typography, change this to bold, and then I also want it to stay the same color though. So I got that. And then what I also want to add, which is not in the Figma, is some way for you to know when you're hovering over it. So I'm just going to grab the non-current one, hit this little drop down arrow here, click hover, and there's a couple different things you can do here. All I'm going to do is just change the opacity a little bit. So I'm going to go kind of bring it down to like 65. So you see when you hover over it, they go down. Again, you can see, so there's just a little bit of notification that you're going down. But also want that to be on when it's the current link. So let's see what I have there. When it was hovered, what did I go for opacity? Went to 65. So I'll go ahead and click this. Current and hover. And so we'll just click on it. We already know we're on 65. Just click on that. So now that's going to have the same opacity effect. And then the last thing we want to do now is add the wave here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to export it. And then what I want to do here is in this Navbar section wrapper, let's collapse everything else. Hit Command E, type in div, hit Command E to name it. I'm going to call it wave. And then all I want to do is add the background. So I'll add the image here, choose image, and then this does not look right now. So what I want to do is hit cover so that it takes more of that fills up the whole space. But also what we have for height. The height we have 122, so I'm just going to do 125 to stay with that basically multiple of 5s that I've been doing. And you see, so that gets cut off right there, and there it's not really cut off. So what we can do for that is when we click on it, we can change it. So I'm going to use this bottom middle one, and I also want the image to not repeat. So then if I go ahead and click on it here, we can see that we have the wave there. So there's our design we made. And here it is on Webflow. And so next what we'll do is go and actually make this mobile responsive. All right, so just a couple things I wanted to add here is, if you look at our Figma design, we basically have the hours and the about us aligned to the right, and we don't have that on the Webflow design. So what I'm going to do to fix that here is grab the nav link, and I'm just going to take this right padding and just make it 0, and now those are aligned. So we look at that, that is aligned, that's what we want. And then the other thing I wanted to show here is why I did not want to use the page padding in this case for the percentages. So I'll take the 5% that I was using, put that on both sides. And so if I look at it here, it does not expand the width of the screen now, and that just, I think when you're looking at it, would look kind of funny. So that's why in this instance, I did not use the page padding for the design here. And what I can actually do, because I didn't even use the page padding, I think it's kind of unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is take this entire Navbar section wrapper, put it up under section Navbar, and just delete it. Because if I use it in the future, it's going to affect every class with the page padding element. So let me just look here. There is nothing else with the page padding, so that I shouldn't have to worry about the navigation menu being affected by the page padding that I use on individual sections. So again, if we look at it here, that's everything aligned right with the wave, and here is the design that we made. So I just wanted to come back and do that, and again, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the mobile responsiveness shortly.